All right. Hello, everybody.
Hey, what's up? Hopefully things are working. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I think I can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool.
We got about 30 attendees in the chat. For you attendees who are on a computer, can you type something into the chat just to make sure you guys are live, you guys are here? All right. Cool. All right, let's get started here. All right, guys. So welcome again. Thank you for attending our webinar. This is the first in a series on how to launch a crowdfunding campaign. My name is Wesley Quach. I'm with the Asian Business Association, SBDC. We are located here in San Diego, California, in Kearny Mesa. We are funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as the Wells Fargo Foundation. And we're also funded in part through a grant with the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. With me today, I have my friend Dennis Caco, and I'm gonna go ahead and Dennis, let you introduce yourself, and yeah, go and take it away.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to hopefully inspiring a few of you out there that are interested in launching a new product or a business, in particular through crowdfunding. I don't use Zoom a lot, so I might have a little bit of like, I can't tell right now if I'm on the screen or not kind of thing, but I know I am. So I'm going to try to work through this presentation as best as I can. But at the end of the day, hopefully you get what you need so that you could move and take steps to fulfill your dream of launching your product or brand. So are you still there, Wes?
Yep, I'm still here. So
Okay.
go ahead, you can share your screen now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so so this presentation I usually do in about 2 to 3 hours. So I'm going to try to do a version of this presentation in about 1 hour. And so sharing the screen right now, and hopefully this works properly. Give me 1 second. And yeah, and typically when I work under crowdfunding, I use this brand called Launch Hard. And you can always check us out at launchhard.com if you have any questions or you want to see some of our other projects after the presentation. And so, yeah, I just want to do a brief introduction on me. My name is Dennis Caco. I am an SBA Young Entrepreneur of the Year. I have done $3 million on Kickstarter and Indiegogo alone. I invented and launched a wide range of products from apparel to film, comic books, and cartoons. So it's not just one thing that that I've launched. I've done lots of different products in different markets. One of my products won the Shark Tank Your Life contest on Good Morning America. It's called The Undress, and I'll show it to you guys later. I've also pitched on Shark Tank. We've been on the show, and that was a crazy experience on its own. Other notable things that I do, I love racing cars. I instruct performance driving schools. I love running, cycling, triathlon. I'm also an artist. I start off as a comic book artist, and I also do traditional art. And I'm passionate about inventing brands and products and launching them into market. I'm married with a 5-year-old son named Drake and my wife, Rachel. So today, what I'd like to accomplish in this hour is to inspire through information so that you take action towards your dreams. What's interesting is there's a lot of people that actually still don't know what Kickstarter is, which is fine. And what I'm trying to do today is I'm trying to cram as much information so you don't have to keep searching throughout all of it in the internet for the next 24 hours. I think you can cover a lot today, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I can't cover everything, but this is definitely going to be a big chunk, and everything's like perpetual beta, so some of this may or may not go as planned. And there's nothing to sell, by the way. I'm definitely not selling anything. This is my give back to the community that I love and appreciate. So hopefully you can take a lot from this. Crowdfunding. So just to start off, we got to explain what crowdfunding is. By definition, crowdfunding is the practice of funding a project or venture by raising many small amounts of money from a large number of people, typically via the internet. Okay, so Kickstarter, Indiegogo, you guys have probably heard about that if you're on this show right now, listening. So Kickstarter and Indiegogo are the #1 product rewards-based crowdfunding platforms online. And typically, and so that's probably why you're here. We're going to talk about that. And at the end of the day, though, it's sort of a little bit of a misnomer because crowdfunding on Kickstarter and Indiegogo is really just to break it down to having it be really simple is pre-sales. You're basically pre-selling your products. And I'll explain this a little bit more and why that's advantageous. What I want you to get out of today is a question a lot of people have asked. I even got asked this literally the other day. Why would I crowdfund my product instead of just launching it traditionally in Amazon or on my own web store or something like that? We're going to go over that. We're going to go over the advantages of Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I'll tell you right now, obviously I'm an advocate for crowdfunding new products into the marketplace. And between all of our companies, we essentially do not launch new products in a traditional manner anymore. We launch all of our new products through crowdfunding. And so it is actually part of our strategy, not just to start a project or a product, but also to grow a company. And I'm going to go in through all of that right now. And so Kickstarter is pretty basic. If you've never been on a Kickstarter website, this is literally the front page of it. And what it is if you scroll down, and I'm not going to click on the link because I don't know how Zoom's going to react to me clicking on a link right now. But it's pretty simple. Right now you're seeing there's 243 live projects on Kickstarter right now. And as you can see here, the top three that were on this screenshot are like a magic puzzle game. It looks like a comic book, as well as some kind of garden planting technology. These are three completely separate projects. And wow, they're doing pretty well. I did not realize this is actually today. That first project that's basically a puzzle is right now, with 14 days left to go, raised $1.8 million in Kickstarter, which is basically what I would consider, what I call pre-sales, $1.8 million in pre-sales of that product. The comic book is at $114,000, probably only about 10 days, 15 days in. And the last one, that plant one, is at $1.3 million in pre-sales with 64 hours left to go. So you're going to see here, I'm going to show you. So those are the projects. If you clicked on one of those projects, you'd learn more about a product. And I'm going to use this product as an example. This is an actual live product right now. It's called the Terra Planter. And I want you to look at this and think about this idea from the mindset of if you created this project, right? So if you created this, it's basically reinventing the flower pot. So this team or person came up with an idea for how can you reimagine a flower pot, or and how can you can plant it differently. And so here it is, pretty simple product. And instead of launching it regularly on Amazon or on their own website, they decided to go to Kickstarter, and you're going to see why that matters. And so here, just walking through it, here's their innovation. The Terra Planter works like a water bank. So I guess you fill it up. It's kind of sort of like a cup. And I think what essentially it does is kind of like slowly leaks the water to the outer surface of the pot. So it claims no soil or dirt needed. You only need water. That's kind of cool, right? So, and you can keep the water on the inside of the pot. Pretty simple. You just fill it up. And then the roots, kind of interesting photo. The roots have constant access to water and air, and I guess you can grow it right on the surface of the product. Sort of reminds me of a chia pet, but just done like at a higher level, right? And then I guess there's reusable, like I think mats or something like that, that you wrap it with, and you can plant stuff like grass. So this is a nice GIF of how the product works. I think this is really cool and compelling, and just kind of a neat looking video of how it seeps water to the surface. Okay, so what I want you to think about is, oops, I didn't want to show that yet. How much money do you think this thing made? So this product launched on Kickstarter. And if you took this product and you put it on Amazon, or if you put it on your own website, if anybody's ever had and launched your own website, how many sales did you get, really? It's very difficult, right? So this product, I don't know. I kind of look at it, I go, I think it's kind of a cool idea, but I don't know how cool of an idea it is. But on Kickstarter, it's this cool. $2.7 million raised in 15 days with 31 days left to go, with 23,000 people have purchased this, pre-ordered this product. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I hope that's impressive to you, because I don't see how this would have ever sold $2 million worth on your own website. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more. So you come up with this idea. The original goal was to sell $20,000 worth. It says it right under the 2 million. It says $20,000 was their original goal. They sold 2 million. So what that means is, let's say you started your own business, you came up with this plant idea, you would have went on to Amazon and probably stocked $20,000 in retail worth of product and hope you sold it. But what if it went gangbusters like this? You would not be prepared to sell 2.7 million. So in Kickstarter, what it allows you to do is basically collect as many orders as you possibly can within a designated amount of time. And so there's parts of this you can see. There's obviously the amount of money that's pledged, the 2.7 million. We call them pledges, by the way. When people pledge to your project and they love your flower pot, and they give you money, it's called a pledge. And so they did 2.7 million so far. 23,347 backers. Backers are each individual person that backs the project. That's what they call it in Kickstarter. And 31 days to go. All Kickstarters have a time frame. So there is a limited amount of time you can jump in to support this company, this project or product to becoming a reality. And at 2.7 million, I don't think they ever even expected this. So Kickstarter allows you to have these breakout successes where you would normally, in a traditional business model, you'd never be prepared for that. As you can see here, I just showed you here's their time frame, and this is a website called KickTrack, and you can actually track all Kickstarters and see what they're raising in their projects, both projects that are current and projects that have already passed. So right now, they're only, like I said, 15 days in. Look at the 2.7 million, and their average per day is $180,000 in sales per day. Show me any business or any product that is 15 days old. This is brand new. Kickstarter does not allow products that have already been sold. So this is a brand new product. Show me another brand new product launching online that is selling $180,000 on average per day. Now, if you launch your own product, would that be cool? Like, would you be surprised or excited about that? Well, what's funny is you can. You could be just like these guys that expected maybe 20, 30, 40, $50,000. Maybe they got excited and maybe they thought 100, but I don't know if they actually planned to go $2.7 million. Or maybe they are experts, but I don't know. I haven't looked that deep, but either way, no one really launches a product and expects $2.7 million in 15 days. At least definitely not in the old way of doing things. So here's one of my products. This is the one that we launched, and we ended up, it was a dress. I came up with a crazy dress called the Undress. It's not a regular dress. It's actually a mobile changing room, meaning you can change out of whatever you're wearing right now and get into the dress in about 30 seconds or so without ever needing privacy or being naked. And so you could change right on the spot. And then what's funny is you can also change back into another outfit using the dress in about another minute. And so we wanted to raise about $22,000 for this crazy idea. And Kickstarter is perfect place for crazy ideas because I had no idea if anybody would want this. And I invented this product because I'm a runner, cyclist, and triathlete. And we do a lot of outdoor changes. So if we have any of the runners or outdoor people in our audience right now, you know you have done changes in the backseat of your car, avoided public restrooms that are really gross, or had to change in the backseat just to do the things that you love to do. And so I invented the Undress to solve that part of the problem. So you can work out and enjoy the outdoors anytime, any place, anywhere. And in particular, women had a really, really, really hard time removing a sweaty sports bra. It's impossible, but with the Undress, you can. And so crazy idea. I had no idea if it would be successful or not. So guess what? You go to Kickstarter with your crazy idea. And if people love it, they're going to purchase it. If they don't, well, it just, the project it's not successful, and you get to move on without having to have stock 10,000 units in your, in your garage. So again, so in Kickstarter, I said, okay, let's try to make $22,000. That's basically about 300 dresses. I think we have a little factory that can make 300 dresses. If 300 people want to buy it, then I guess I'll go through the trouble of making it and then shipping it to each individual person, right? But it went way better than 300 people. Obviously, we had 7,297 different backers, and we ended up making $615,000 in 39 days. It's the first 39 days of this crazy idea. And so that changed our lives. That was nuts. And so from there, here's kind of the example of the product. It is not a regular dress. It has patented features on it that help you do this kind of crazy change. It's pretty simple concept, but I really had no idea we'd make millions of dollars doing this thing. I just thought it was a cool idea. I had no idea it was a great idea. And then you can also change it back into an outfit by just putting your clothes on with the dress on and then slipping out. It's not a regular dress. So there's definitely, once you get one, you'll understand how engineered this thing is that allows you to do that. And so for a lot of women, it's a lifesaver. And from there, we ended up launching on Kickstarter. And I'm going to go through all the pieces of what a Kickstarter page is about. But at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. You put up your product, and if people love it, they're going to buy it, and they're going to all buy it together. And then after the project ends, you have time to fulfill, manufacture it, and then also ship it. So you get a lead time, and you get to decide that lead time. Okay. So let's see. So after we ended up launching that product with Launch Hard, we ended up using that success, and we just kept moving forward. I loved and enjoyed the Kickstarter environment and community. So we ended up doing more projects, and these are all at launchhard.com. You could see we ended up launching Minitio headphones here on the left. We ended up doing $402,000 in 34 days for this headphone company. And then I helped launch Hydrate, which is the world's first smart water bottle. We ended up doing $627,000 in the first 43 days on Kickstarter. And so you just kind of look at this list and you see, this is generally not typical launches for products when you try to launch a product online. When you create your own website and you try to launch your own product, to be honest, I think you'd be lucky to get into the first, 3, 4, 5,000 in a month. On Kickstarter, we experience obviously hundreds of thousands of dollars in the first month of sales because of that platform. And I'm going to go into it and I'm going to show you guys how we do it. Everything from underwear, women's underwear. This was one of our smaller projects, still raised $87,000. So, I mean, selling $87,000 in underwear is kind of it's not as easy as you think outside of Kickstarter. Okay. And so what can you launch? You can literally launch anything. So whatever your crazy idea is, whether it's a dress like mine that I came up with, or a comic book or a book or movies, film, you can do combat kitchenware. They raised $46,000 for this pan. I mean, if there's anything that can inspire you, just look at that. $46,000 for combat kitchenware. This is ridiculous. This is the world's largest jockstrap. It got funded. This guy just wanted to make the world's largest jockstrap, and believe it or not, people on Kickstarter wanted to help him do it. I think he ended up raising somewhere close to about $12,000 to make it happen. I mean, if your business can't do $12,000, but a jockstrap can, I mean, that's kind of that's got to inspire you, right? And then the last one is this very famous story about 4 or 5 years ago called the potato salad story. A guy created potato salad as a joke on Kickstarter, and he only wanted his friends to back the project because he was going to have a party, and he wanted them to give him like $5 or $10 to help him pay for the potato salad that he was going to have at his own party. He didn't realize it was going to go viral, and it did. And then it was a joke, but once you launch it on Kickstarter, people can pledge to it, and people supported that potato salad project, and he ended up making $55,000 for his potato salad joke. But it was a joke, so they ended up donating all that money to a charity. But just giving you an example, it doesn't even have to be all serious. So pretty much all products A to Z, there are some restrictions like no alcohol, drugs, or weapons are allowed on Kickstarter. There's stuff like that you'll want to look up. So on Kickstarter, again, you can see on the right, all different types of products. Just on this little screenshot here, you got everything from a belt to a toiletry bag. I think that's some apparel product, the Expand quick release lacing systems. Some of you may have seen those already. Just in the market, they're actually in market. You got cable card. It's a multifunctional cable. Raised $435,000. I don't even know what it is. And Amplify, the ultimate wireless headphones. So you got everything from electronics to apparel, to almost anything, any consumer facing product. And if you look here, this is how big is Kickstarter? This was a screenshot I took a while ago. They've had, at that time, they had 461,000 actual launched projects. So the way I look at it is 461,746 amazing ideas, right? That people want to see if, well, hopefully most of them are amazing. And total dollars that were pledged was $4.5 billion. And the successful dollars that went to those to the creators of each, everybody who launches a product is called a creator in Kickstarter. So I'm a creator on Kickstarter. They distributed 4 billion of that because $500 million were unsuccessful. $0.5 billion were unsuccessful pledges. And what that means is that if your project, like my Undress project, had to hit $22,000 or I don't do it, if I got $19,000, it would be an unsuccessful project and everyone would get their money back, nobody charged. So there's no risk in that regard, okay? So that's another great thing. You don't have to stay committed to a project if it doesn't look like it's gonna be successful. So you can test in Kickstarter and you can cancel a project if you want. And so, and you can see 447 of unsuccessful dollars. And currently at any one moment, I guess at this time, Kickstarter had 41 million live dollars that day, right? With 3,927 live projects, and I can't read the rest. I think, let me see if I can move any of this. Yeah, I can move the windows, great. And the success rate is 37%. So that's pretty, some look at that as low. I look at it as really high. If I had a 37% chance of your business getting funded and successful, that's super high. Go to the bank, try that a couple of times and see how many times you're going to have to go there to try to see if you can get a loan without, collateral or anything like that. In Kickstarter, by the way, you do not have to give up any equity. This is completely pre-sales. So that's another thing you want to think about. You make $500,000 and don't have to share the company at all. That's it's quite an advantage. So here, and all of this is available on Kickstarter if you want to look at it. Everything's broken down into, different categories. So you got music, film and video, games, art, publishing, design. Basically, any idea you could come up with probably falls into one of these categories. And if you look, like we went into fashion, and if you look at how many projects there are, you could see how many projects raise less than 1,000, from 1,000 to 10,000. 10,000 to 19,000, and obviously it starts to taper down. 20,000 to 999,000. So 100,000 to 1 million raised is 259 projects. I think we own 4 of those projects, which I'm proud of. And so, yeah, so there's just kind of an example of the breadth of Kickstarter, what is being accomplished day to day. Indiegogo is like Kickstarter. You probably heard about it, and there's the question of which one do you do. Just to let you know, Kickstarter, when you launch a product on Kickstarter, you have to launch it in Kickstarter first or only. They will not allow projects that have been launched elsewhere, even on your own website. So you have to consider that. So Kickstarter is absolutely, you have to launch a brand new product in Kickstarter. They will not take a regurgitated project or something that's been sold before. Okay, they only want new and they want to be exclusive. But Indiegogo will take a Kickstarter project. So just an FYI, you can go from Kickstarter, launch it there for 30 days, and then drop it into Indiegogo for another 30 or 60 days if you wish. And I can talk about that a little more if you guys want to talk about it at the end. People ask me this question: which one, Kickstarter, Indiegogo? 100% Kickstarter. Which one should you go with? Kickstarter. And there's a lot of reasons why I know this. And in particular, it's just at the end of the day, the conversion metrics from running our ads to our project are a lot higher on Kickstarter than they are on Indiegogo. So that alone, the acquisition of a customer is so much easier on Kickstarter. It is so much more effective. And there are outliers. There's some Indiegogo projects that do really well on Indiegogo, but for the most part, with everything that I've ever seen, it's Kickstarter. Okay, so I just answered that question for you. A lot of people ask that question. Okay, so crowdfunding, why would you do this versus a traditional business launch? And this is something I want to explain to, especially if you're talking about a business association with a lot of people that are probably trying to take loans to launch a business in a traditional manner, set up a retail store or buy 10,000 units of t-shirts because they believe in their brand, something like that. I want you to consider crowdfunding as an option, right? Versus that typical way of launching businesses. The typical way, and I'm breaking down the basics, is sort of like, I've got an idea, you go make 10,000 units of these shirts, you put them in your garage, you launch a website, and you hope people buy them, okay? So you're already fully invested before you make your first sale. I want to show this to you and prove, and not prove to you, I want to suggest that crowdfunding is a better alternative. And so in traditional business launch, you invest your life savings, you build everything assuming everyone wants it, then hope to sell all the inventory. Versus crowdfunding, check this out, it's so simple. Sell it all first, then manufacture whatever was sold, right? How's, it just sounds so logical, and it is. And so in traditional business launch, right, you're going to have a theory and you're going to invest 100% into that theory. You got like full scale planning. You're going to have full scale operations, full scale production, because you got to get ready. You got 10,000 units in the garage. You got to sell. You're going to start getting customers calling in, all that kind of stuff, right? You're going to have full scale production. Your time frame on a traditional business is 1 to 3 years, and you have a large initial resources needed. And recoupment, trying to make your money back, takes months, years, if ever. And your approximate initial costs, I don't know, most people that start businesses are spending somewhere between $100,000 to $300,000, I believe, in a traditional manner, depending on the business, of course, right? Versus crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is so much simpler. You just have a theory, like my dress. My dress was a theory, right? And you invest minimally into that product, and it's called a minimal viable product. So we made a dress. When we sold 615,000 dresses, we made 6 samples. That is all we ever made. We made 6 samples of dresses to sell $615,000 worth of dresses. So we have a you want a total minimum business plan. You know, you're not looking out 5 to 10 years. You don't have to prove to a bank you're going to survive. Nothing. You just have a very minimum business plan. And you just want to have a successful Kickstarter. That makes sense, right? And so your time frame for a Kickstarter could be 3 months to a year. It usually takes about, I want to say for the fast projects we've done, I think the fastest project we've ever done was 2 months. It took us 2 months to do it. And we made 100,000 in that project, I think. And then another one was $250,000. The undressed version 2, I think, took us 2 months. And so your minimal initial resources needed, and you have an immediate recoupment is possible. So we put in money into the Kickstarter and we make our money back. When the Kickstarter is over, you get your money 15 days after the end of the campaign. So you're looking at those guys that had made a couple $1 million on that flower pot. That money is going to dump into their account in about 45 days from now. Traditional business launch is high risk, commit to inventory. You don't get any feedback because you made the product and you sell it and you hope people give you feedback. You don't have a community around it like Kickstarter. There's community aspect to it. You pray for sales after your initial investment is made, and it's totally high risk. Crowdfund launch, low risk. You don't have any inventory. You can't have inventory when you launch. Immediate feedback is in real time from actual buyers. Because what's cool about that too is that your customers, since they're they feel like they're investing into you, and they are, because they give you money and they hope they get something in return. And a few months later, when you finally make the product, they can give you feedback today. And they're really supportive. They would not give you money unless they really believed in you. And when they believe in you, they give you some really, really good feedback, or they become some of your best advocates of the product. And so, you know, this is where you get your alpha consumers, you know. And you only have to make the product if the sales justify production. So if I try to make $22,000 in dresses and I only sold 3,000, I don't have to go make the other $17,000 worth of dresses. I can cancel the project and go, this is not going to work, and not have to risk anything. I'm just done and I get to move on. So, you know, a lot of people in business say fail fast. And this is the fastest way you can find out if the product's going to fail. A traditional business launch has high barrier to entry, major time investment. There's no virality in a traditional business launch in the way that a Kickstarter has in the past, for sure. There's no customer urgency, right? When you have your website up, guess what? People look at it and go, I could buy it later. There's no urgency. In Kickstarter, there's a time frame. Social proof, you have none. Because when I go to your website and I buy a product, I have no idea if one person bought it or if 10,000 people bought it. If that flower pot was on a website, a regular website, there's no way I can tell that they just sold how many thousands of those? 7,000 of those already? And that makes a difference to me when I'm buying. And it's powerful. So in the crowdfund launch, you have low barrier entry. Kickstarter is free. They only take 5% at the end of the day. And then in total, it's plus processing fees, which is another couple percent or so. Just call it 10%. You choose your own adventure. You get to decide how you do it. And the virality is definitely there for crowdfunding projects. It used to be, at least way back. It's harder now, but it can happen. Customer urgency is already built in. It's time frame, time sensitive. Social proof is built in as well. When people looked at our dress, I'm sure people thought it was a horrible idea. But when you look at the dress and you say, well, wait a second, I think it's a horrible idea, but 7,000 people bought it and there's $615,000 against it. That must mean that maybe I'm the one that doesn't know what's going on. And so it gets people more curious, right? You're probably going to be a lot more curious about that pot because it just made $2 million or close to it already in 15 days, right? You're probably going to be way, way more curious than if it was just a pot somewhere maybe that you just ran into on some random website. Traditional business launch is not profitable at the time of production and delivery of your first products to customers. You're not profitable even at the first time you sell a product. Your results aren't public, which is a good and a bad thing, but most, in this case, probably bad. If you sold, imagine selling $1.7 million worth of this pot and not being able to say it. I mean, I think you're losing a huge amount of PR or ability to convert customers. You receive your customer data after the sale and deliver the product, and you assume who your customer will be. When you launch a Kickstarter, there are ways and strategies for you to understand who your audience is very quickly. And I could talk about that a little later. But imagine really understanding your customer, and then they work with you, they talk to you, and you have no customers at the time you launch in a traditional way. In crowdfunding launches, you're cash flow positive at the time of production. You have all your money. Like I said, they're going to have a few $1 million in their bank account in 45 days. And that includes all their profit and everything. So all they have to do is produce and fulfill those orders on that flower pot. You could be profitable immediately. Well, I call it quote unquote immediate, but you know what I mean. Right after the crowdfunding. Results are public. You get to find out who your customer is before you ever even make the product. So you understand your customer avatar. So just get an interesting example. Let's say you created, I don't know, I'm totally making this up right now. Let's say you created like this leather product that's like a wristband, right? And you launch it on Kickstarter, you end up finding out people think this is a great dog collar instead. And people are buying it because it's a dog, they think it's a dog collar, or you modify your marketing while you're doing your Kickstarter, because you're starting to realize that it's more people are buying this for their dogs. And you're starting to see that there's more sales coming from that direction, and so you can modify at the time. So if you're very nimble, you could take advantage of a lot of the feedback you're going to get during crowdfunding. Okay, let's see. All right, traditional business launch. I think this is no testing. You can't test your market theories until after your launch. Equity is going to be taken from your financial investors. You need a completely finished and manufactured product, and you cannot cancel your launch. All of your resources are fully committed. So in crowdfunding launch, you can test your market assumptions immediately. Zero equity taken from your financial investors. Minimum viable product is okay. Like I said, we had like 6 test undresses, and you can cancel the project anytime before successful funding occurs. So let me give you an example here of what would never, ever, ever happen in the regular world. This is a book. I believe her name is Loish, or that's her pen name. She launched a book. It's an art book. How much money do you think you would be making in an art book if you launched one on your own traditional website or even Amazon? Probably not much. If you did $5,000 in a month, you'd be pretty lucky on a $20 book or $30 book. She did on Kickstarter on her first project. She did $301,000 in sales on her first book. I was actually a backer of her second book. And then she came back, did the second book, because all the people that loved her first book want her second book. And when you're in Kickstarter, all the backers that you have, you can promote for your next project. They're all kind of collected in your account, essentially. And so you have access to those customers. So all her original 7,000 backers, she was able to contact and say, hey, I'm going to do a second book. She did $468,000. She did $769,000 in book sales on Kickstarter. There is not a publisher in the world that would have ever promised her that amount of distribution or sales. Second, she owns every single one of her own customers. She's in direct contact with them, and she can go build a third book. Think about this for a second. And yeah, so great book. I got the product, very awesome. And yeah, she's just one example of a success. And I'm not even talking about just the fact that she can launch her product successfully. This is just something that would never happen. She would never stock $300,000 or $700,000 in books and sell them. And this all happened, by the way, the 300,000 and the 468,000 happened in roughly about 30, 40, 50 days. So here's another example of some people aren't successful. So Matthew and Mark McLaughlin, at least initially, launched 4 projects on Kickstarter. 2 of them failed, which is those 2 red X's. 2 of them were okay. They did one that had about 178 customers, and the other one had 502 customers. Okay, 502 is not bad, but for an electronic product, probably, I'm not sure how much money they made if they made anything, but at least they made it happen, right? But their 5th project went gangbusters, and you might have heard about it, the Fidget Cube. So they ended up launching this thing, and I think you guys know this. I've seen it, but on Kickstarter it went crazy. $646,465,690 in less than 60 days. They would never have ever done that, I think, outside of Kickstarter. 154 backers went viral on Facebook, and 154,000 people bought their product. They didn't have 154,000 in the garage. They just took pre-orders, and they took the money, and after they took the money, they produced a product and shipped it, and whatever was left over was theirs. They became instant millionaires, essentially. And this was a fun project to watch get big. So, and on Kickstarter, there's some of the larger projects. You've got the original smartwatch was actually launched on Kickstarter. It's called the Pebble. It was before the Apple Watch. And you could see there's a $20 million campaign that they did. They did a campaign for 12 and a campaign for 10. So you're looking at between 3 projects, this watch company made over 40-something million on just Kickstarter alone. And so the world's best travel jacket in the bottom right did $9 million for a jacket. Again, never happening in the real quote unquote regular traditional business model. I'm in apparel. No one's ever going to stock $9 million worth of goods. You got to sell them first. And that's what they did. 44,000 people bought that jacket. Why does Kickstarter work so well? I don't know. Here's some of the theories. Number one, it's, validation and momentum. When you see the $2 million, you believe in the product, even if you didn't think that pot was a really good idea. Now you're like, that's an amazing idea, right? Validation, 23,000 people bought it. Time scarcity, there's only 31 days to go. And in Kickstarter, typically you give a discount and exclusivity. You give them, and sometimes you can even give them something that you'd never get outside of Kickstarter, just to sweeten the deal and reward people for believing in you. And you can add that as well, right? And so just one thing I want to add, there are 2,000 crowdfunding platforms apparently worldwide. And to give you an example, this is another one called Publishizer, and they specialize in just books. So that potentially is an option as well. I still say Kickstarter is the place I would go if I launched actually, I did launch books in Kickstarter, and I'm going to show you that. But just want to let you know that there are other places to go. All right, so I'm going to go into the phases of crowdfunding right now and try to see if I can get most of this done in 15 minutes. So it's really just 5 phases to crowdfund. So if you've got your product, really the first thing you need to do is get your prototype ready, okay? And Kickstarter tends to want a working prototype. So the better your prototype is, the better your sales are going to be. And you want to set up your manufacturing so you know what you need to charge, okay? 2, you're going to do your pre-launch audience. You got to build your audience before you launch the campaign. So 3, you're going to build your actual campaign itself. And I'm going to show you in slides coming up here on all 5 of these phases, okay? So you're going to build your campaign, and after you build your campaign and you're ready and you click go, you're going to launch your campaign. for anywhere between 30, probably 60 days. And then after you're done, you collect the money if you're successful, and you manufacture and fulfill that product. It's kind of this simple, okay? And in phase one, you build your prototype. So you design your product, you hire a designer. There's lots of people out there that can design your product. If you use Fiverr, you can find people on Craigslist. You can find you got to just find someone to make your prototype. In our apparel industry, you have people called sample makers. So they can help you, make a dress, a jacket, shirt, whatever. Find someone to manufacture production. Okay, so this is a bigger one, is once you have a product to make, you got to find a factory. And you want to finalize all your specs as best as you possibly can. And then you want to get your written price estimate that is valid, here's a dinger, beyond the Kickstarter end date. So it'd be silly to get a quote that they won't honor after your Kickstarter is over. Think about that. So you want kind of a long-term quote as best as you can. And then you want to, and then you're going to need some branding and some design and some brand identity. And you guys obviously probably know enough about that. So you are building a brand, build your prototype. In phase two, I'm talking about the pre-launch audience. This is one of the most important pieces of having a successful campaign. You essentially want to build an audience, and you want to pre-promote your Kickstarter before you ever launch, so that you have hopefully hundreds of people ready and excited to buy your product on the first day of your Kickstarter. And how you build that is you want to set it yourself up with, you want to do all the socials like Facebook, Indiegogo, start building Instagram followers. Something that is key for us that most people don't talk about on Kickstarter experts don't use or don't talk about, but I think something I push, Facebook group. If you can get a Facebook group around your product, let's say you're reinventing like some new bicycle, you start creating a group of cyclists to help give you feedback before you ever launch your Kickstarter. And you'd be amazed at how much, one, they love the process, and two, they will back your project when it's time to come. So Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, find the right social network for you and your product. Okay. Emails, you want to start building the emails. That's how you count basically who's in your, you want to build an email list. So email lists have still been the most important part of any successful Kickstarter. So you got to build those with a landing page, and you can advertise to test on your landing pages to collect your emails. So as you run your ads, you're going to find out who's paying attention, who likes your stuff, based on who's registering into your email list, right? So you can test your audiences, find out what your overall response is, and start to really figure out who is responding to the product that you want to sell. It may surprise you. So you get a lot of information in the pre-launch. This is an example of a simple pre-launch page we did. And it's simple. Free Max Boost comics, sign up for free comics delivered to your inbox. So I had comics, an automated process, put your email in there, and you get, I think probably 15 pages of comics for free. Now, if you like those 15 pages, most likely you're going to probably back my Kickstarter project later on when I launch it. And then here's my Max Boost group. And this is not even a big group, 741 total members in our private group. But you can see the engagement. It's 3,000 posts, comments, and reactions. We're we interact a lot in there, and it's really cool, and it's very personable. So the other thing I want to say is quality over quantity. So you want quality interactions with people, and those are the people that are going to back your project. So phase three, campaign page this is the way I break it down, is to keep things simple because it can look complicated. It's really 4 basic elements on the campaign page. Number 1 is your campaign goal and timeline. Typically you want it to be about 30 days. Do not launch on a holiday, and you want to launch on season. So I want to tell you this, if you have a swimwear brand for the summer, you don't want to launch in the winter because you think it's a great idea that people are going to love it because they're going to be able to get it next summer to use in the summer. No, you actually launch it on season in summer. So your swimwear, you launch in summer. You're not going to sell any swimwear in the winter. Campaign video. This is a basic breakdown. I go, what's the problem? Talk about the problem. Talk about the problem. Tease the solution. Show the solution, and then call to action. Kind of a simple way to break it down. There's a lot of people that have a different breakdown for how to do really enrolling video. Short is not better. Long is totally okay. Most of our campaign videos are 5 to 6 minutes long. So get to the point quick though. That's what what I do want to say. If you're gonna have a 5 to 6 minute video right there, right at the beginning, you want to get to the point so people know why they're gonna hang out and watch for 5 minutes. Your campaign story, which is the main body of your Kickstarter. Basically, Kickstarter is a single landing page, one page. You lay it out. You lay your campaign story out just like you laid out the script with the problem, tease the solution, show the solution, and details, right? So, sorry. Use GIFs if you can, demonstrate, and then the rewards. Basically, it's you go, do you want 1 dress, 2 dress, 3 dress? Simple is better. You only need a couple of prices. You don't want to do too many. And then as far as a lot of times you break it down into 2 prices. People who back the project in the first few days get a certain price, and then before like half of the campaign, you get a certain price to incentivize people to do it earlier. And then the third price, and the third price, which runs to the end of the campaign. You don't want to sell like if I'm selling on dresses, a lot of people, for $69, I'm not going to, people used to sell t-shirts for $20 for people that don't want to buy the dresses. They can buy a shirt and support it. Don't do that anymore. It doesn't work. People want to come, they're either going to buy the dress or not going to buy the dress. So here's an example of a project that's launched right now. It's at maxboost.com. This is my comic book. I created this back in 1998, and I have relaunched it in Kickstarter. We're currently at $50,000 pledged, and our goal was $5,959. We have 568 people with only 3 days left to go. So this is one of my little projects here, and I love this. My goal with Max Boost is to become the speed racer of this generation, and hopefully eventually a Netflix show. But we start with a comic book. And everybody that is supporting our project is helping me build that dream, and they receive a comic book in the process. So here's an example of that comic. The book is $45, and it's signed and numbered and sealed. And on the right here, you could see the pledge number. It says pledge $45 or more, and you get a book, right? And a free this and a free that and whatnot. And this is basically what our Kickstarter page looks like, just about 20 times longer than this. And you could go check it out. Our current Kickstarter book, you could search at our current live Kickstarter for Max Boost at maxboost.com. Okay, then you got to build a campaign. And I'm going to try to go through this a little quick. I know I got 7 minutes left here before we hit the top of the hour. And Wes, you can tell me if you want me to keep going or whatnot. So you got video, photography is probably going to be a big chunk of your project. On the Max Boost project, we did very little. I pretty much built the whole thing myself. Honestly, I've had some help, but my budget was essentially $0. Can you believe that? And we made $50,000 on that. But I've also paid lots of money on some of our other projects, and have played, for videos in thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for photography and all of that, and team and everything. So I can go, so you can opt to do just like I did, low budget or high budget, depending on where you want to go. So video, a lot of people ask me, how much would you budget? To be realistic, like you can get, newer videographers, and somewhere around $300, $500, I think is reasonable for them. And then the higher ended guys are going to charge you about 7 to 15 grand. Photography, I mean, you've got friends probably, but it ranges on the lower end, probably 100, 200, $300. High end, thousands, right? And then how you launch, I'm just going to kind of skim through this a little bit, but it's pretty much how you would launch and maintain any regular business. But in particular, during the Kickstarter, you're going to probably email a couple times a week. I recommend Monday, Thursdays. You email your list that you grew from the beginning. So let's say you have an email list of 4,000 people waiting to buy your product. Well, email them twice a week on Monday and Thursday and until they back the campaign. Social posts, Instagram, Facebook, go live often. People love to see your face, and they tend to support people and trust people more often when they see you talk. So boost your social posts, run your ads, and you run ads not to gain emails or gain customers, but is also to find out and test who your audience is. Okay. I don't know if you want to run your own ads. You might want to hire agencies, and there are agencies out there that specialize in Kickstarter. Influencers are hit and miss, just an FYI. So a lot of people think influencers are the answer. Not necessarily true. cross promos on Kickstarter. Lots of Kickstarter projects can support each other, and I could talk about that later. Or I probably won't talk about that now. Budget, you can budget up to 30% of your campaign to marketing, and approximately maybe about $25 per cost per acquisition. Okay. I don't want to dive too much into numbers because that's going to, most people are probably going to fall asleep, but, and I don't have that much time. And the schedules are dynamic. So Kickstarters are very dynamic. So if sales start to go slow, send an email. It doesn't have to be Monday or Thursday. And in Kickstarter search ranking, without getting too far into it, a lot of people ask about the algorithm. Nobody knows what it is, but basically you want to try to stay in the top 3 of your category. And then on social, interact with everyone. They love, love, love hearing from the creator. I do it myself. And here's my Max Boost campaign, the very first one. And you could see, we sold comics. We made $40,000 in a comic book in 32 days. And if you look over on the right, it shows your average per day is $1,232. How much work does it take to sell $1,200 worth of comic books on a daily basis off of Kickstarter? We would have never done it. I don't think this would have ever happened outside of Kickstarter. And then here's an example on KickTrack also. It's at kicktrack.com right there at the bottom. This is when we did on Undress version 3, $524,000. Check that out. We averaged $13,000 per day. $13,000 per day. Phase 5, you manufacture and fulfill. And so there's a final phase. So once you get you have a successful Kickstarter and you have their money, now you got to deliver. So in manufacturing, here's some nuggets. Do full package manufacturing. Don't do piecemeal manufacturing. Try to have one company handle the whole thing. If you're doing international, if you're using China, use LDB price, landed duties paid. You want your price to the door. You do not want to deal with customs or anything, tariffs and blah, 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 duties, taxes, none of that. You don't want to deal with that. On the fulfillment side, there's something called backer kit, and you want to use backer kit to take the orders from your customers after Kickstarter is over. So I know there's a little much information for people that are new, but if you have done this, if you have done a Kickstarter before and you've never used the backer kit, that's a company. I highly, highly suggest backer kit. There's also a company called Crowdfunding. In backer kit, when they are filling out their order for whatever dress they chose, you have an opportunity right there to actually upsell them more. So to give you an example, in that version 3 campaign that I just showed you where we did $500,000, our upsells in that campaign was somewhere roughly over 10 or 15%. I believe we ended up selling an additional I think it was $60,000, $80,000 in product in the back end. So that project did close to $600,000. So Max Boost Volume 1 had a 50% increase in the upsells on the backer kit. So that $40,000 campaign, on the back end, we made an extra $20,000. So a total of $60,000 on just that campaign alone. Also, another thing, don't ship it yourself. Use a fulfillment center. There's lots of inexpensive fulfillment centers that can do it quicker, faster, better, and you don't have to have all this stuff in your garage trying to pack it. And then the fulfillment center, if you make extras, can hold extra units for you, and they're ready to ship for you when you start making online sales after Kickstarter. And never, ever, ever sell under that Kickstarter price. If you sold it on Kickstarter for $45, finish the Kickstarter and you start selling it for $30, they're going to be pretty upset. They supported you from day one, and yet you sold it cheaper to someone else later that didn't have to invest in you like they did. Okay. So just real quick here, it's 7 o'clock. Wes, I probably don't have that much more left. Can I just keep going?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so here's a lot of people's questions. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or Indiegogo, you can actually do both. And this is what we ended up doing. You start in Kickstarter, launch it there. If it does really well, move it into Indiegogo. They love that, so you can extend your crowdfunding even after Kickstarter's over into Indiegogo. And then from Indiegogo, what we do is we go into online and traditional sales. And then after it's all done, you scale your business and use crowdfunding for all other iterations of the product. What do you mean? Well, you just noticed we have Undress version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. We have launched all of those products. That's how we made millions on Kickstarter, because we do all the versions and we release it to our original backers first every single time. So there's an example of the Undress version 4. So you saw the version 3 did 500,000. We did version 4, did another 310,000. Here's a good example of a company. These guys absolutely crush Kickstarter. They're one of my favorite companies on Kickstarter. And it's Peak Design. And they started off with this product. One of the first products they did $364,000. Their products are geared towards photographers. This little clip here did $364,000 with 5,000 backers. They came back to Kickstarter because of the community, because of, it's just a great way to do it. They came back, sold this bag. This bag did $4 million. It's a photography bag. 17,000 backers. So they went from this to selling that, and they did 4 million. They came back with another backpack, did 6.5 million with 26,000 customers, backers. $6 million on the next project. Did another 5 million on another bag. And then they even came out with a different product, a tripod, and they did $12 million on this tripod. 27,000 backers. And this is all through Kickstarter. I don't think they would have ever done this in a normal, traditional manner. And look at their dollar amounts they make. This is on KickTrack also. Their average per day on the right, $205,000 on Kickstarter per day for 59 days. So $12 million project, that's $200,000 a day. Amazing. And these are all pre-orders, guys. They didn't even have to make the tripod until after they got all their $12 million in money. It's amazing. So, and some people, another big question, small and big businesses use Kickstarter. Obviously, these guys aren't small anymore. And guess what? Every time they come up with a new project, they go to Kickstarter. They don't launch it on the regular website. And then after this, and this is kind of ending this presentation, once you're done with Indiegogo and Kickstarter and your product's launched and you've delivered your customers, now you can move on to online or a traditional sales or however you want to do it. And for like us in The Undress, we launched The Undress obviously on our own web store, and you can see that at theundress.com. And sold product here, and you just keep going. And well, actually I have one last thing to show you. There's also a separate kind of crowdfunding, just to let you know, I'm not going to get into it, but Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and GoFundMe or Kickstarter and Indiegogo are actually rewards-based crowdfunding. I should take GoFundMe out of that, but meaning rewards-based means that you help support a company and they send you a dress or a product or whatnot. Equity crowdfunding does exist for those of you who would rather sell equity instead. So there's platforms like WeFunder, Seed Invest, and Fundable, where you can actually fund your company in kind of a more traditional manner by selling equity. So just give you an example here, Legion M launched on WeFunder. They're the first fan-owned entertainment company, and you can invest in them for $100 with just $100 or more. And they ended up raising a ton of money. 6,500 investors at $100 minimum investment. They raised $4 million. $4 million. So at $8.32 per share. They used, so they used WeFunder to do that, and they were successful. And here's a lot of other projects on WeFunder right now where you get to be a part and an equity owner of these companies if you choose. So that's an alternative in case Kickstarter or Indiegogo is not for you, and traditional venture capital or bank loans aren't a place you want to go. Even this guy, higher performance, cheaper propulsion systems for satellites. He's got $275,000 invested in him and 380 investors. So that's it. So this is the end of the presentation. Just a reminder, old way to launch. You got big investment, life savings, bank loans. You buy all the stock and you hope to sell it. You got a warehouse, you got a staff, you got office, you're dependent on buyers and distribution. And so all of this, is happening before you make your first sale. Versus the new way, you could either go crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to try Kickstarter. It doesn't make sense to not even attempt it. So some of the apps and programs I'll have here on this screenshot here that we use when we work in teams for our Kickstarters, and a lot of these are free. And then lastly, I was in the middle of a project before COVID where I was going to launch 12 new projects in 12 months. Yes, 12 businesses and 12 projects in 12 months. just to prove to people like you, if I could launch 12, you can launch one of your businesses in your lifetime. Whenever you decide, as soon as you're committed. If I could launch 12 in 12 months, you can launch one, right? And I wanted to prove that to you guys. I was in the middle of it until COVID hit. That kind of did make things a little interesting. But yeah, we launched Max Boost Volume 1. We launched the Undercover version 2. We just launched Max Boost Volume 2. And we have another undress project coming. We've got a backpack project. We got handbags and a film project. So these are all coming this year. And yeah, just again, you check out maxboost.com if you want to see a live project. And if you pledge to this project, that'd be awesome. One, I thank you for that. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying that if you are, go to Kickstarter, pledge on a project if you've never done it before, so you can see how that process goes. Obviously, pledge to mine, and then you'll see how our communication is and what you get at the end of it, and hopefully it'll be a good experience. And if you need to contact me for any reason, you add your email at launchhard.com. You can contact us there. And then there's also the email below, info@cacoenterprises.com. So there you go. There you have it. Hopefully you guys, that was an earful, right? That was a lot of information. Thank you for taking 1 hour. Oh no, I did do almost exactly 1 hour. Perfect. Because we started at 6:05, 6:06 or 6:07. So there you go, Wes.
Cool. Thanks, Dennis. I think we have a few questions from the audience. Right. So actually the first question, the last question are kind of related. Okay. Quan Fung asks, would love to see some examples of service-based companies using crowdfunding. Do you start with the service company crowdfund with a product? And then the last question that was asked in the chat was, most of what you describe are products. Can services be marketed? If so, how are they received versus a product? Okay. So I hear a couple questions in those questions. So number one, services can be crowdfunded. I would highly suggest twisting it a little bit so you deliver something. People want to receive something. So, so let's say, for example, I don't know if you want to give me an example of your service, like what service it is that you're wanting to do. But let's say I wanted to be a crowdfunding coach, right? If that's a service, Wes, do you think that's kind of the thing I should be talking about, like something like that? I think so, yeah. Okay, well, I create a product, or at least a something. So you could either create a product, or you could say, hey, you're going to have to explain why you need money, right? So I'm going to say I need $10,000 to do what? If I get $10,000, I'll just give you an example, and I'm kind of shooting here because I'd probably rather have more specifics. If you want to have more specifics, please leave a comment. But I'm making this up in my mind as we go along right now, so you'll see my thought process. So let's say I wanted to be someone who wanted to support more people doing crowdfunding and Kickstarter. Instead of just going, hey, I want to travel the world and I'll do it. If I have $10,000, I can travel throughout the United States and drop by all the university campuses and be able to do that. I'll be funded to do that. And there's a lot of people that would think that'd be really cool. And my target audience would be everyone that's around, like youngsters, anywhere from like 16, 17, 18 to about 21. That's the market that I want to get into, right? And I want to support. But, they don't have money. They're not going to fund me. They're kids. They're still trying to figure out how to make their own money, right? So maybe I come to you guys and I go, hey, would you guys support that? But with that, I don't just go, hey, give me money. With that, I go, well, maybe some of the things that I can do is for X amount of dollars, I will film these experiences so you can actually live it with me. And then you will be on an exclusive list for that of a backer of me during Kickstarter. And I'm going to film this process and you're going to be able to live with it, live through these experiences as I go from school to school. I'll do live broadcasts through there specifically for you guys. Maybe everything that I'm teaching the kids, I'll put into a digital download, and then you'll be able to download because you supported me at $50, $100 or more, you get X. $2,000, I'm going to fly you out to one of these events, and we're going to have dinner together, and you can ask me every question you want about crowdfunding. There's lots of ways to go around there. So hopefully that answers your question. But all you got to do is get a little bit creative. What you don't want to do is get into a place where you're kind of just like begging for charity. That's not what you're trying here. You're really trying to create a really great business relationship through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. If you're just looking for charity, that's GoFundMe. That's where people just give money, expect zero return for the most part. That's not really an enterprise. And here we're trying to talk more about business, but that is a viable way to do it and some people do support people in that way. So hopefully that answers your question. Just got to get creative with it. Digital downloads are a great way to do it as well, and which costs
obviously nothing you don't have to deal with fulfillment and everything.
Cool. Thank you, Dennis. Next one, I think we're going to jump around a little bit. This one's from Stuart Halpern. In regards to owning your customer, do you get their contact information to use outside of the Kickstarter platform, or can you only contact them through Kickstarter?
So you got to be careful for one, but yes, absolutely, you do get their emails. So you have a responsibility there as a company to make sure you comply with those things. But you do have two things. You do actually get their actual emails only after the campaign is successfully funded. So you can't set up a campaign, fake it, try to grab all these customers, and then shut down the campaign and receive their emails. Just letting you know, you actually have to go through the whole thing, and it has to be, honest. So at the end of the campaign, when the campaign ends, you will have access to all your customers, the email information, and then you can do kind of what you need to do with that. That's legal, obviously. Second, Kickstarter does have its own messaging platform within Kickstarter, which is very, very, very powerful and easy to use. So you'll be able to contact them. Hey, I'm coming out with the next version. I'm coming out with Max Boost Volume 3. Yay. Let's also, I'm going to be launching it soon. And they love that. That's okay. You can totally communicate in that way.
Great. Yeah. Let's see. The next one here from Mary. What happens if you set up your Kickstarter before ever selling anything, but then offline you end up getting a customer who buys your product? Do you get disqualified?
You want to be very careful. I'm not saying that Kickstarter is going to see every single thing that's happening, but it doesn't take much. So I'm just going to give you an example of what canceled one of our friends' projects. They were at somewhere around $300,000 in their campaign. 3 days left with the campaign. They made a mistake. All they did was accidentally, I don't know if it was an accident or not, they put the product on their online store. It wasn't even available for sale. They just put it on the store. And Kickstarter canceled their project. They received none of that $300-something thousand. It was completely canceled, gone. Can you imagine losing $300,000 in a minute? They did. And they don't mess around. So Kickstarter does not mess around with that. You don't want to do that. I wouldn't play. It's not worth it.
Let's see. Quan Fung asks, when an amount is pledged, is it collected and held in escrow? Can a backer cancel their pledge? How much lead time is recommended?
Okay. It's held in, so once the campaign's over, it takes 15 days to receive your money. So what they're doing in the 15 days is charging all of the cards, because the cards are not charged until the end of the campaign. So your customers need to know that. It's not charged until the campaign ends and it's successful. So if they pledge $45, they get dinged on the last day of the campaign. Some of those charges will go through. Some of them won't. Less than 4 or 5% don't go through. So then you're going to try to recharge that. Kickstarter's going to do this for you automatically, and they're going to try to recharge those cards, or they have a system that allows the customer to fix their credit card or change their credit card. So then after all of that's done, 15 days or so, probably, I think it's working days now. Call it 15 to 20 days. You're going to receive all that money in your bank account that you designate for those funds. And so can they request refunds? Yes, absolutely. They can request refunds. This is what I tell people. For us, for all the years that we've been doing Kickstarter, every single customer, anytime, any place, anywhere, I do the 100%, the Nordstrom's version of customer service that they were known for. Refund everything anytime, even if it's after 30, 90 days. We have a 90-day satisfaction, no questions asked guarantee on all our products after they receive it. But to be honest, we just take care of our customers, refund. We just do whatever we need to do to make sure that they're taken care of. They can go to the credit card processors. I don't know all the details on this. There is some interesting things about them wanting to do refunds when it's from a crowdfunding platform, because it is a pledge. It's not a regular order. So there are some things there, but I think the laws are changing around that. But either way, bottom line is yes, they can request. Just assume if they do request, just give them back. And believe it or not, we don't get a lot of refund requests at all over the millions of dollars of products that we have sold on Kickstarter. So you probably won't have to worry about that if they know you're going to ship the product, and you're even if you're running late, so.
Cool. So this next question you pretty much already answered. This is from Kathleen. if you cancel a project because the goal was not met, do you owe backers any money, or does Kickstarter charge fees?
Nope, nothing. It all goes away, and you get to start. You get to try again. And like the Coolest Cooler is a great example of a project that failed originally, trying to raise $125,000. They only raised $75,000, and their failure actually ended up becoming a thing that propelled their success, because the people that originally pledged for it were pissed off they didn't get their Coolest Cooler. So they said, if you launch again, we're gonna support you big time. And so the guy's like, okay, well, I'll relaunch. And he relaunched something like $12 million. So he's lucky he didn't get 125,000. Can you imagine? If he got the 125,000, he would have made the coolers and only made 125 grand on Kickstarter. But he failed, came back and did 12 million. So.
Okay, let's see. Next one. Here's a simple one. Does Kickstarter work in Europe?
In Europe, yes, because there's projects that I see that are in Great Britain, for sure. And they're, because you can tell when you see a project on Kickstarter that's from there, you see the pounds. Or I don't know all of the countries that allow it, but we definitely from the USA sell worldwide. So when you have your product on Kickstarter, you can designate what countries you will and will not sell to. So you don't have to sell to, any country you don't want to. If you don't have to, or if you don't have licensing rights or whatnot, you can designate where you sell the product. But yes, we've sold a lot of product into Europe. And I bought stuff from Europe.
Yeah.
I've backed projects from Europe.
So these next two are kind of related, right? So Sally asks, do you patent your product before you show your product to the public? And then my question that kind of relates to that is, can you touch upon the time between, ending a campaign and delivering the product, and that time span is too long? Like, how do you handle knockoffs coming into the market?
Oh, okay. All right, you're gonna have to repeat that question later, but let me your exact question. But before that, the patenting thing. Okay, so you kind of knockoffs, patents. Just look, you're gonna bring a product into the marketplace. You should just follow the rules for however you do it, whether it's Kickstarter, Amazon, your own website. So every attorney will tell you protect yourself first, right? So that's kind of like the right way to do it. So when we launched the Undress, we had the patents already. We filed our patents, and we also did all the trademarking. We had all that straight before we ever launched our products. Max Boost, same thing. So yeah, so I believe in protecting it. So yeah, you're going to invest a little bit in doing that, but doesn't mean you have to, because there are definitely some projects where, or products that I have launched, not necessarily just in Kickstarter, but I've been doing this for 25 years. So where I didn't protect it first and it didn't really matter. So, but at the end of the day, yes, protect yourself as you normally would. And that would be the best suggestion, of course. But yes, most people are not really asking the question of, should I protect it? It's more the question, should I spend the money? I think people know they should. They just don't want to spend the money to do it. So try to find the best way to, is what I say. And then you said something about knockoffs and what your lead times. Yeah, so there have been some horror stories about that. I just showed you guys the fidget cube, which did what, 6 million or whatever it was on Kickstarter. Well, they weren't versed in making this product, and the Chinese basically took the project and ran with it and ended up distributing it all over the place because, well, number one, I don't think they were protected at all, and number two, they just took a while, and it's too simple of a product. They did copy it and they pushed on it, but the way I look at it is this: is like if you it costs a lot of money to defend a product, right? And it doesn't take much to change it and be able to legally sell it. Really, at the end of the day, Kickstarter or not, it's always speed to market. So you just got to get it out there, and you got to pick the piece of the pie you want, and now I'm starting to talk a little bit more on like business coachy thing, because I don't think you're always gonna have competitors, and you may never even if you come with that perfect project, how big are you really gonna get? You know what I mean? Even if someone else takes your same idea and starts to market it, you were probably never going to get that market share. Maybe not. And maybe that market share might be helping your market share. You have no clue. But at the end of the day, like, get to market as fast as possible, ship as fast as possible, get the customers as fast as possible, and manage your expectations. What is it you're really trying to get out of it? You know, if you're like, hey, you know what, man, if I launch this product and I make enough money to buy a house, I'm good. Well, be good with a house then, you know, and just remember what you're here for. And that's a whole nother kind of conversation, more of the business mental aspect of it. But because when you get ripped off, it's more mental than it is financial. I think you start getting messed up in the head, and oh man, but hey, if you got the piece you were looking for, then you should be able to sleep at night. So anyways, I don't know if that 100% answers the question, but that's my answer.
That's great. Let's see. Stuart Halpern asks, how do you set your fundraising goal?
Good question. And I'm giving you guys pretty quick answers because I could talk almost an hour on this alone. Okay, so funding goal and time. But funding goal, okay, that's tricky. You don't want to set the goal that you hope you get. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? I really want $250,000, but they don't need it. They don't need it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do not set it to $250,000. There's a couple of strategies and reasons why you don't. You want to make it look like you're successful. If you set it at $250,000, even if you made $50,000 in the first week, which is great, you're gonna look like a failure right now, right? And you don't want that. And you would have been okay with 50,000. So some people are like, okay, so what do you set? So what I call it, like minimum viable product, we call some minimum viable goal. So what is it really when you calculate it down? What can you live with? Like what's a minimum you would live with in order to be able to make this product safely and deliver it? Start there, right? And you're like, oh gosh, well, it's all I'm doing is selling postcards, and postcards a $200 investment to make postcards or whatever it is, art print, right? Well, you don't have to have a $5,000 goal for that. What you want is, here's another thing I'm going to answer is a question you're not even asking me. That goal that you have isn't really what drives people to support you, believe it or not. So some people say, well, I want to put my goal high so that people are going to try to help me get to 20,000. It doesn't work like that. People want to see you successful first. So my goal, here's another thing that we always say. Set your goal in a place that after you got your email list and whatnot, you can figure this out and calculate achieving your goal on Kickstarter in the first 24 to 48 hours. What? I get 30 days. No. The first 24 to 48 hours, and the rest is going to be gravy. So for example, with Max Boost, our goal is $5,959. We're at $50,000 right now. So if that goal mattered and was keeping people from supporting the project because we already hit it, that's not the case. Is that making sense? The other reason why you want to achieve your goal, people that have been on Kickstarter for a long time know that if a project's kind of going pretty long and it doesn't look like they're going to hit their goal, it's going to work in the opposite direction. I'm not going to want to help fund it. I'm just going to move on because I don't think it's going to get funded. So, but if the project's like, oh man, they made their $1,000, $2,000. The project is a go. Most likely I'll go, okay, let me punch in my credit card because this project's going and it's going to be moving. So it's not a waste of my time to log in and back this project right now. So people want to back success. Just like that pot. I'm telling you, when you hit about 100,000 to 200,000 or somewhere 300,000 or so in there, people want to jump in because they just want to be a part of that project. Two, something's got to be cool about it, right? I mean, it's exploding and they want to be the first in the world to own it.
Yeah, there's definitely that sense of urgency, right? So, if you have, the first 50 backers are at this price, right? And if people see that it's sold out or it's no longer available, right?
Yeah.
They definitely want to push people towards it. I have another question, also from Quang Feng, that's kind of related to setting your fundraising goal, right? Kind of just a paraphrase, right? So basically, he's asking is, like the money you fundraised, what can it be used for besides the actual money used to create the product, right? So can you use that money for miscellaneous things such as website, marketing, picture, video, etc.?
Your brand new car? Yeah, you can. There's no policing it. So, but Kickstarter's not policing it. All they care about at the end of the day, or anyone, is that they get the products that you say you're going to give them. That's it. So no, you don't have to create a report, an itemized report of how you spent the money or anything like that. But what you could do, and some campaigns do it, but really people don't really ask. They don't really care. They just want to make sure they get what they paid for. So They're not sitting here wondering if, are you spending it on a new office? Did you buy yourself this like new iPhone 11? Like what did you do with it? No, people aren't really asking that question. They might ask that question if they never get their product and wondering why you have a new Ferrari or whatever, right? So that could be a problem. I don't know all the details, but there are definitely, campaigns in which there are investigations and possible, I don't even know all the details, so I don't want to misspeak, but I think some people are in real actual legal trouble because they have not fulfilled. And I don't know which projects those are. So you are liable at some level, even though it is called a reward and it's crowdfunding. I have heard that there's some liability there. So make sure you just deliver. And the rest of it's profit. Do whatever you need to do with it.
So Mary asks if you can go back to your tool slide.
Tool slide.
Yeah, the one with Canva and all those other tools that you use.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me see if it'll let me do it. Okay.
Mary, did you have a specific question on that?
And there's more than this. Oh my gosh, there's more. There's so many apps and things that can save you time and effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mary, feel free to take a screenshot of it, or we'll also send the video
you
out
just need a screenshot
as well.
For sure.
So yeah, so Google Drive we're familiar with, Teamwork we have used before, Slack.
And I may make this presentation downloadable. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so like we can send the video and a link to the slides as well.
Yeah, I'll figure out how to do that.
Okay.
The other thing I want to tell you guys that I almost forgot to say. So people ask me what is the most important thing to do to have a successful Kickstarter campaign. And most people that are Kickstarter experts will tell you have a massive email list, right, before you start and launch. All these people that want to buy your product. And that's logical. That makes sense. I have a different answer. My answer is Kickstarter, if you've never done it, is a beast, but it's also worth it. What you want, and the most important thing, is to get someone on your team that has been successful at Kickstarter before. Someone who's already done it. That is the most important thing, whether they mentor you, whether they're on your team, any of that. Just get somebody who's been through the pain. That's going to save you so much trouble because there are a lot of decisions you need to make, and you don't realize that when you start. And your guidance is going to be really, really important. And so, guys like me, there's people around that that can give you just invaluable information that's going to make a huge difference between success or not success. Kickstarter is so accelerated and so fast. If you make mistakes, they're big. They're big. But if you succeed, look at how fast you can succeed and get to essentially millions if you're good. So, all right, get someone on your team.
Sina asks, do you think any industries are worth engaging over others, considering the impact of COVID-19?
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm pretty sure outdoor stuff got impacted in the last 60 days. So we have an outdoor product called the Undress. And we felt it all across the board, though. I think our sales just definitely got hit. I don't know if there's any. Oh, so there's a product on Kickstarter that's one of those little hook things, so you don't have to touch anything when you walk around. It opens doors for you. The sanitation like hook kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know where it ended up, but I think the last time I checked, it was at like $600,000. So, and then a lot of people on Kickstarter basically copied it or that type of an idea and weren't doing as well as them. But either way, someone made $600,000 off COVID on Kickstarter. And we're nobody knows what's happening next exactly. So bottom line is, I'd say, I'm not sure if you're asking that question because you're in the entrepreneurial sense of being an opportunist, trying to find the markets that are the most important at the time and doing that. I'm not that kind of guy, just an FYI. I'm more of like, what is it that I want to put into the world? And I go do my passion, like that thing. I know trust me, people hit me up already and wanting me to do face masks. I'm like, I know I can make money in face masks. I got factory for face masks here in the United States. I could probably do it. And I have customers that would probably buy it, and I have ideas for it. I don't know if I'm that passionate about it. I don't know if I want to go do that. Maybe I get somebody like you to do it for me. But I got all the resources, but it doesn't draw me to wanting to do it. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask that question. But if you go back, if you look back in my earlier slide, it showed you which categories did the best on Kickstarter, and the biggest categories tend to be electronics. So.
All right, next question is from Susan Seide. She simply asks, software as a service, question mark.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Apps don't do that well on Kickstarter, just letting you know. So hopefully that kind of gives you your answer.
Okay.
You got to get, like I said before, for the people that want to do service, you got to get a little bit more creative to get people to back you on a Kickstarter.
Cool. All right. Anyone else in the audience, if you have a question, if you can ask it using the Q&A function, it tends to get lost in the chat because the chat is consistently going. But the next question is from Cassandra Fowler. This is more specific to her situation. She's curious if launching a transitional housing on Kickstarter or perhaps an equity starter, if she should do it or not. What's
transitional housing? Define.
I think she mentioned she wants to provide transitional housing for military women.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's, I don't know all the pieces to that, but I think I understand what you're saying. That might not be a Kickstarter thing. It might be more of, see, this is where you got to get creative, right? So I wish I could get a little bit more detail, but I'm going to kind of make it up to try to see. What I'm thinking she means is that trying to set up an infrastructure for people that, what is it? Did you say military? Or?
Yeah, military veterans, women, yeah.
What's the problem she's solving? Does she say that?
Let's see. I don't think so. Okay. Cassandra, if you have a microphone, you're open. Oh, yes. Okay, so yeah, military women and homelessness.
Ah, got it. Okay, so basically homeless vets, but in particular women.